Hey there, let me tell you some important information about one-dimensional arrays. Let's say you declare one integer array, let's say int arr, okay, and you want to initialize that array with something like this, okay. So you're declaring an array and you are initializing it as well, okay. Now in this case, we have seen that in the syntax, we need to write this size over here, okay. This size is kind of mandatory. But there is one important thing in C++. Whenever in the declaration, if you are writing initializer list, okay, in the declaration itself, you are passing the initializer, you are initializing the array, then in that case, you can skip this size, okay. You can avoid writing the size, okay. You can still write it, like you can still write the size, but it is also okay if you don't want to write it, okay. You can skip writing the size over here. This is the first point. So what was the point? If you are writing initializer list, if you are initializing the array, if you are giving list of initializers, then in that case the size is not mandatory. But let's say if you are just declaring the array, let's say you have another array arr2 and you are just declaring it, you are not initializing it, then in this scenario you have to write the size. In this case it is mandatory. Okay, I hope you understood this point. So always remember, if you are just declaring the array, you are not initializing it, then size is mandatory. But if you are declaring the array and you are also initializing it at the same time, then in that case you can skip the size, okay. It is not mandatory, but if you want, you can write it as well, okay. There is no problem. Now why C++ gives you this option? Why C++ gives you this option when you are giving an initializer list? Because whenever you give initializer list, from the list of initializers, it can get how many values you have. So in this case, C++ can know you are going to store two values or you want to store two values. So it is going to know how many elements you want to store, and from this it can decide the size, okay. It can get the size by itself, okay. So C++ is going to do job for us. It is going to get the size of an array from the initializer list that we are passing. So that's why when you pass initializer list, you don't need to write the size, but you can still write it, okay. I hope you are clear with this point. Now there is one more important point that I need to discuss with you. Let's say you have another array, again of integer type, let's say, and its name is, let's say, arr, and it is of size 5, or let's say it is of size 6, okay. And let's say in the initializer list you're giving only two values, let's say 1 and 2. Now what is going to happen in this case? See, let's say this is this array arr, okay. Now we have only two values, but actually we have 6 places, like this is 1 2 3 4 5 and 6. We have 6 places, but we have only two values. So this 1 is going to be stored over here, this 2 is going to be stored over here. Now what is going to happen to rest of the places? What is going to be the value at rest of the places? So always remember, whenever you initialize your array with the initializer list, and whenever you initialize a list has less number of elements than the size of an array, what C++ does is, if your array is of integer type, it is going to initialize the rest of the elements with 0. See, this is very important. If your size is greater than the elements present in the initializer list, then for rest of the elements, like in this case these elements, C++ is going to initialize them with 0 if your array is of integer type. If your array is of float or double type, then in this case your C++ is going to initialize your rest of the elements with 0.0, okay. And if your array is of character type, then in that case C++ is going to initialize the rest of the element with /0 special character, okay. So this is one special character in C++. As we have /n for new line, this is a special character /0. This is called as a null character, okay. So C++ is going to initialize your array with this special character, which is null character, if your array is of character type. So in this case, as our array is of integer type, what is going to happen? These rest of the places which don't have the initializers will get initialized with 0, okay. Let's say you write int arr with size 6 and you initialize it like this. You just write 0. You just give one element, you just write 0. Then what is going to happen? This arr array all the elements of the array will get initialized with 0, because the first element was initialized with 0, and as it is an integer array, the rest of the element will get also initialized with 0. Okay, that's why the entire array will get initialized with 0. Okay, but if you don't give any initializer, you just declare the array, then in that case what is going to happen? In that case the array is going to have garbage value, some random values. In that case you can't say that the array will be initialized with all zeros. It is not going to happen. This happens only when you pass the initializer list, okay, or only when you initialize the array. If you don't initialize the array, if you just declare it, then it is going to have garbage values. So